A very warm welcome to all the viewers to another episode by reitspro.com on various aspects that we cover on REITs and invits. Today the topic is, can or will Indian REITs go bankrupt? So this is the second part of will REITs go bankrupt, which the first part we posted earlier, and there are some glaring evidences we'll explore. Or can they be called mistakes? Are they really mistakes instead of evidences? That is what we will look at. So in the first part we talked about how the falling prices of REITs in India make us probably fear whether Indian REITs will go bankrupt. And in that we concluded that the balance sheets are strong, the real estate is going up, it's better than what it was when the stocks were listed, and the balance sheet is strong, and also that there are 3 or 4 factors which make it highly unlikely that the Indian REITs can go bust. But here we look at some of the evidences that shout that, well, the financials are not so good. For example, if you look at this from a very well-known website, the data on Embassy REIT and Brookfield REIT, the financial health parameters are 5 negative out of 6. Similarly, the same parameters are 5 of them are negative out of the 6 parameters that are there. So if I just give you the snapshots, basically it covers things like the assets, the debt, and also how the profitability of the companies are rated negatively. So are these really evidences or the mistakes? So basically, is this half-cooked food, and is half knowledge worse than ignorance? This is what we will explore here. So why is it that things can be different? Because we don't analyze REITs the same way we do other equity stocks. And there are doubts regarding REIT financials, and that's natural. So even in the AGM of 2023, Embassy REIT's AGM, there was talk that current liabilities are more than current assets. And they talked about, some shareholders talked about that while borrowing from banks, the banks will see all these parameters. So your balance sheet and P&L are both not up to the mark. To which there were replies. For example, let's just take up the balance sheet first, the balance sheet aspect first. Not the P&L. Now in the balance sheet, it talks about this kind of a situation where the current liabilities are more than the current assets, damages the current ratio, because we all know that the ratio is that the assets should cover the liabilities. However, in case of Embassy REIT, that was not happening. If I give you the snapshot of the consolidated financials of 31st March 23 here, it shows that the current assets are this much million rupees, while current liabilities are 59,000 million rupees compared to current assets which are about 11,000 million rupees. So it's a bad situation if you look at it on the face of it. However, when asked for clarification, the clarification was that there were some NCDs which would come up. So you need to take that up in current liabilities in the financials. That was what the comments were. Secondly, there are things like long-term loans which give a different scenario when it comes to REITs. So for example, the long-term debt equity ratio is unfavorable. Debt to equity ratio is considered high in normal circumstances, but in case of REITs, that is not the proper measure. In case of a REIT, the important measure is the debt to asset value. So the balance sheet is to be evaluated on this basis here and not the debt equity ratio. In case of Embassy REIT, for example, you have a debt equity, the leverage is 28%. This is a snapshot of the portfolio valuation update from the financial reports. Now leverage for a REIT is equal to debt to asset value is equal to debt by assets. So in this case, it is far less than the SEBI regulations. Now the fact is that REITs need to borrow to expand, and there are tangible assets, there are ready assets which have cash flows. So it's a very different scenario for REITs. And the SEBI guidelines also talk about a debt capping of 49% for REITs. And for this we have another video which we made out on video on REIT, SEBI REIT regulations earlier. So you can have a look at that. Now if you look at the annual report also, now it talks about an additional headroom of 104 billion in the embassy REIT, in the case of embassy REIT. Now that means that this is very much below the actual SEBI regulated level. Next we come to the P&L. In P&L, for example, things like EPS is important, but well, distributions we know can be more than EPS because there are non-cash expenses like depreciation which are different in case of REIT distributions. What is happening is that, for example, in case of embassy REIT itself, we have a 13.49 EPS per unit, but the distributions in FY23 is 21.71. How is that possible? That is possible because we have components like depreciation which are non-cash expenses, and that is something that the REIT passes on to the unit holders, which is very different from a regular thing. Now you need to remember just one thing, that this is a case where cash flows is far more important. If you really want to understand REITs, how they function and how they are different from the normal equity stocks, we just probably need to remember that it's more about cash flows that are generated. So just take it as entities. REITs are entities which hold physical real estate, which is commercial in nature as of now, and also retail, and it's rent generating. And the REIT holds real estate, it gets rents from the real estate, and it has a certain portion spent on the regular maintenance from the rent itself, and the balance is given out to the unit holders. This is how the whole flow happens. Now the whole distribution amount, which comprises of dividends, repayment of tax, of debt, interest, these are accounting entries which make this possible as well as make it tax efficient. So for that, the EPS, like we noted in just previously, the EPS could be much lower. In case of embassy REIT, the EPS is much lower than this because there are cash flows which are more than what the earnings are. That basically represents the rent, and that is what the unit holders get. So several people in India we know have built wealth with properties. What it requires is patience, like one has in real estate, and product knowledge because it's a financial product in case of REITs. For that we have our website, dedicated website on REITs and invits, which is reitspro.com. You can log in there and see the training sessions and webinars. Join us on a group, WhatsApp group, where people discuss doubts and share with others. And you can also look at our Telegram channel and join the same. So will REITs go bankrupt? We could probably conclude that we need to reevaluate, because all analysis is useless if we have the wrong metrics with us. And there are some important measurement tools for normal equity investors which can in fact misguide REIT investors. So with that reevaluation, you can draw out a strategy and reevaluate whether REIT suits you. There's already a video on REIT and invit strategy. You can have a look at it. And if I were to summarize, you can pause here in the next video, next slide, and you can say what you should do. So it depends on the attitude of investors, and these are extracts from the earlier video. So have a look at that, and then you decide whether the instrument suits you or not, because that's the first and the primary requirement, whether a combination of debt, equity and real estate which REITs offers, can it suit you? And then decide whether REITs are going to go bankrupt or not, whether it suits you or not, and so on. When you use the right metrics, then only you will be able to arrive at this conclusion. Thank you so much for watching this video. Do subscribe, do comment, and visit our website and join us and stay connected. Thank you so much for watching the video.